of the main questions I get from readers is about foot binding. How did it start? Why did it last? Why did it exist? How did it end? So I want to first start with how it began. There are many, many different stories for how it started. Probably the most accepted is that about 1,000 years ago, there was a woman who was a courtesan, like this woman in this painting, who was a dancer, and it was said she would wrap her feet and dance, and she looked like she had little fox feet. And I remember the first time I read that, I thought, oh, kind of like toe shoes. Anyway, she became hugely popular for this, with the result that all these men came to see her, with the result that then there were other courtesans who started wrapping their feet, with the result that all the men went to see them, with the final result that there were women at home, fine, upstanding women, who were saying the Chinese equivalent of, how am I going to get Harry to come home? And this is how foot binding made the jump from the courtesan culture into this culture of fine, upstanding, elite women. So one of the ways to visualize an ideal size bound foot is just to look at your own thumb, about 1 inch wide and 3 inches long. And here is that shoe right there on the foot. I've written about foot binding in many of my books, and years ago when I was working on Snowflower and the Secret Fan, I was lucky enough to interview a woman who had bound feet when I was in China. But there are 2 books that I return to quite often when I'm writing about foot binding. The first is Splendid Slippers, and this has a whole collection of shoes from different regions with different styles, what the embroidery means. It's terrific and always fun to show at your book club. The other one is called Cinderella's Sisters. It's by Dorothy Coe, and this is much more of a historical, academic treatise on the history of bound feet.